सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्णा पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री आधार शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो 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 हरे हरे. Thank you very much everybody for joining us for the morning program today. Today is the auspicious occasion of disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and on Jiva Mataji's guidance and instructions, we have repurposed the Shrimad Bhagavatam class this morning to speak on the glories of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So I seek blessings and permission from all the assembled devotees to share something about the Lion Guru. So Rasraj Prabhu, am I clear?
Yeah, Mataji, you're audible.
Just going to quickly check in the participants pane one time, just to know if there is anybody who's joining for the first time, how much background I should give. Okay, so it's mostly our regular devotees. Okay, that's good. So I'll get started. So, as I mentioned, I'll be talking about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and I want to mention that today's discussion has three key segments. I want to share the set of the background or the context that that led to the appearance of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Then share some details about his life and pastimes, and then conclude with a pastime that I did not read anywhere, but I heard from my Guru Maharaj several years ago when he gave a lecture on Bhakti Siddhanta's appearance day. So, our founder Acharya of ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and his spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He is also known as the Lion Guru. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's father is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And we have the picture of the Guru Parampara. In that we can see it's Srila Prabhupada, it's Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and that it's Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur is the father of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from Krishna, he appeared himself 500 years ago to establish the Sankirtan mission, to establish the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga, the Sankirtan Yagna. But around the 1800 time, at the time of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the pure teachings of Vaishnavism, or the teachings of Gaudiya Vaishnavism that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared for very specifically were lost. And at that time, it was known as, at best, as a cult or a sect. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who was a magistrate in the government that time, he took it upon himself to revive the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To that end, he published many books, he traveled extensively, and he very aggressively preached to revive the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to revive the teachings of pure bhakti or Vaishnavism. And he also realized and understood that this work should continue after he leaves his body on this planet. And to that end, he very sincerely started praying to the Lordships that please send me your associate, your personal assistant who can help me in this mission to revive the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was in response to that prayer, that sincere, eager prayer of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that he had a son. This, he had 3 children before Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared. His 4th son was named Bimal Prasad, who had appeared in response to his prayers to the Lord of sending his personal, he was praying to the Lord, send me your personal associate who can assist me with this preaching work. And this son was named Bimal Prasad. Now, Prasad means mercy, and Bimla is the internal potency of Lord Jagannath. So the name translates into the mercy of the internal potency of Lord Jagannath. And at that time, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was residing in Jagannath Puri Dham with his wife, Shri Yukta Bhagwati Devi. And Bimal Prasad appeared as his 4th son. Now this child, when the astrologer came, he predicted that this child had all the qualities and the characteristics, the 32 qualities of a Mahapurush, or a great soul, or a great personality. And the astrologer, when he prepared the chart, he predicted that this child will become famous as the proponent of Bhagavad Dharma, and he will be famous for being brilliant in establishing the principles of religion and helping people understand the ultimate truth, the ultimate purpose of life. So, when I read this, I was immediately able to draw the parallel when Nilambar Chakravarti, an astrologer, came and, did the prediction at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. There was a very similar prediction. And Bimal Prasad, when he appeared, he actually had his umbilical cord wrapped around his body like a Brahman thread. That was also very wonderful sign at the time of his appearance. When he turned 6 months, it was time, he had appeared in December. 6 months later, it was time for the Rath Yatra festival. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur and his wife were residing in Jagannath Puri that time. And actually, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was also the manager of the temple, the Jagannath temple at that time. So the Rath Yatra procession was going on and the cart was being pulled by the devotees. But by the arrangement of the Lord, the cart stopped when it reached the house of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And devotees were making an attempt to move, but the cart was stationed there again by the will of the Lord for 3 days. And Bhagwati Devi, she came out with a 6-month-old Bimal Prasad in her lap. And because her husband was the manager of the temple, out of respect for him and out of respect for her, people kind of, parted way. They made a route for her to come closer to the cart to take the darshan and the blessings of the Lordship of Lord Jagannath on the cart. And, I'm giving this background because, if you see the Rath Yatra procession in Jagannath Puri, it's like millions of people on the street around the cart. Like you'll be fortunate if you can get a chance to touch the rope, let alone pull the rope. So people parted ways, they made a route for Bhagwati Devi to come closer to the cart. And she brought Bimal Prasad close. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think she was given the permission to come up on the cart so that she could take the blessings of Lord Jagannath. And just as when she came closer, the garland from Lord Jagannath's neck, it came down and circled around the body of little baby Bimal Prasad. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur was very happy to see that he took it as the mercy and the prasad of the Lord. And he was convinced that this child, this boy, has appeared to help in propagating or reviving the Sankirtan mission for which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had appeared. So, once when Bimal Prasad was just, a small child, 3 or 4 years old, during the summer season, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he did groceries and he brought some, fresh, ripe mangoes. And the little child, in innocence, he picked up the mango and, in an attempt to eat the mango. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur chastised him, even though he was a small child, that this has not been offered to Giridhari. How can you think of eating it before the Lord has eaten it? And even though Bimal Prasad was a very small boy, he felt so guilty that I have made an offense, that at that small, tender age, he vowed that I will never eat a mango again. And here in the US on East Coast, we see mangoes maybe for like 2 months in the summer, and most of the time we are just managing around with the canned swad, pulp. But if you're in India, which is the land of mangoes, and around the summer season for 5-6 months, there is like hundreds of varieties of this, very nicely smelling, delicious mangoes. To resist that, it's a big achievement, it's a feat. And for a small child to take that vow and to honor and follow that for throughout his life is a very big thing. When he was only 7 years, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, made a very conscious effort to raise and train Bimal Prasad in Krishna consciousness. And he was only 7 years old when he had memorized all 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. And it's not just that he had memorized like a parrot. He knew the meaning, he knew the translation, and he could explain each and every verse from Bhagavad Gita. So when he was 10, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was beginning construction work for a building in Calcutta for preaching work. And during the excavation, they discovered a small deity of Kurmadev. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he gave this deity to Bimal Prasad, and he asked him to worship this deity regularly. And at the age of 10, he gave him he initiated him. Bhakti Vinod Thakur initiated his son Bimal Prasad in Mahamantra and in Narsingh Dev Mantra. And Bimal Prasad worshipped his Kurmadev deity, and he did his sadhana for both the mantras very sincerely and very, very regularly. And he was a brilliant student. He was in just maybe 12 or 13 years old when he came up with a new phonetic language. He designed his own language. And although he was attending school, he did not have to put in any effort to study the school material. He was spending his time reading scriptures and reading the books by Goswamis. But whenever the teacher asked him any question related to what was being covered in school, he always had the answer, like the correct answer. And as he was growing, he was brilliant. He joined a Sanskrit school. He got trained in Sanskrit grammar, and he got trained in Vedic Shastras, and he earned the reputation of being a very bright, brilliant young man. And he was very good at debates, and he was very good at presenting logic and arguments. And when I read this, I was able to draw a parallel between how Nimai Pandit was with scholars like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakash Nanda Saraswati, Keshav Kashmiri Pandit, and how little Nimai was able to, you shouldn't say little Nimai, but how young Nimai was able to defeat all these established scholars, whenever they were, when he had a debate with them. So similarly, Bhakti Siddhanta, although very young in age, he was very, he was very grounded, very firm, and he was very good at debating. And he could just rip apart Mayavadis and impersonalists very easily. And actually, they were very scared, to come in front of him. Even when he would walk on the street, if there were any Mayavadis, they would just, scatter away. I want to read a little bit about his life of, what he accomplished. I'm just going to open my screen here. Was not able to memorize all the information. In 1897, he started an autonomous Chatuspati Sanskrit school, where from monthly journals entitled Jyotirvid, Vishrapati, and many old treatises on astrology were published. In 1898, while teaching at Saraswati Chatuspati, he studied Siddhanta Kaumudi under Prithivarda Sharma at Bhakti Bhavana. By the time he was 25, he had become well versed in Sanskrit, mathematics, and astronomy, and he had established himself as the author and publisher of many magazine articles and one book, Surya Siddhanta, for which he received the epithet Siddhanta Saraswati in recognition of his erudition. So one time, he used to publish a daily newsletter, spiritual newsletter, and somebody asked him, like, why do you have to publish every day? And he said that if this small town can publish 5 newspapers every day on mundane, irrelevant topics, why can't we publish every day about the glories of Lord Krishna? And he established. Let me read some more here. No. Srila Saraswati Thakur excavated Lord Chaitanya's appearance place at Yoga Peeth in Sridham, Mayapur. He preached convincingly against casteism and philosophical deviations from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He tried to unite the 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas by publishing their teachings. Srila Saraswati Thakur earned the title Narsimha Guru for his fearless and powerful delivery of Vaishnav Siddhanta. Mayavadis would cross the street to avoid confronting the Lion Guru. Besides being a courageous preacher, he was ornamented with all divine qualities and full ecstatic love of God. He established 64 Gaudiya Math temples in India and centers in Burma, England, and Germany. His 3 Brahad Mridangas printing press in Madras, Calcutta, Krishnanagar used to publish books, magazine, and newspapers to spread the message of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. When asked why he printed a daily spiritual newspaper entitled Natya Prakash, Srila Saraswati Thakur replied, if an insignificant city can produce 5 daily newspapers, then why can't we publish a newspaper every second about the eternal, ever-fresh transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his unlimited spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan? So I want to share one more thing, that because he was an author at a very young age, because he was, being successful in defeating bogus Mayavadi impersonalist philosophy, he was getting a lot of attention. And many pseudo gurus at that time, and there were many pseudo gurus at that time, wanted to have Bhakti Siddhant, wanted to have Bimal Prasad as their disciple. See, when we you know, if a very famous person becomes disciple, then guru also gets the fame, right? So these pseudo gurus were thinking that if, you know, if Bimal Prasad becomes my disciple, that I'm going to become very famous, and you know, my fame and my khyati is going to spread all over. So they all were actually very eager, and they were trying to you know, pull him towards them. But he could see, you know, with his purity, he could see through the, you know, the facade of all these pseudo gurus. So he was instructed by his father Bhakti Vinod to talk to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj for getting his second initiation, getting initiated into the Gayatri Mantra. Now, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was like a Bhajananandi who had come from the Braj Mandal area to the Navadvip area. And he used to come to attend satsang at Bhakti Vinod Thakur's house. You know, this is, you know, that we are discussing Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur here, you know, who's, you know, when we are talking of elevated souls and exalted personalities, we, you know, we don't talk too much about lineage, because these people have transcended all bodily platforms of, you know, I took birth from this person and I took birth in this family. But here the lineage is so important that I want to just quickly mention that Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was a renunciate. He was, you know, a devotee from Brajmandal area who came to Navadvip, but he used to come into the house of Bhakti Vinod Thakur to listen from a grahastha. You know, Bhakti Vinod Thakur that time was a grahastha. He had a job, he had children, he had wife. But Gaur Kishore Das Babaji would come to his house and listen satsang Krishna Katha from him. So this is, you know, this is the background of Bhakti Siddhanta. You know, he had Bhakti Vinod as his father, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur instructed him that you go take initiation in Gayatri Mantra from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Now, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was extremely humble. I'm not sure, you know, if he was, you know, he probably could not read or write much. You know, he was a Bhajananandi, but he was fully absorbed 24 hours in chanting Krishna's names. He had no belongings, you know, he had renounced everything. And when Vimal Prasad approached him, you know, out of humility, he said, "No, I cannot initiate you." So Bhakti Siddhanta, you know, Vimal Prasad, he came back. He came back to his father, Bhakti Vinod. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur told him, "No, you go back and you ask Gaur Kishore Das Babaji for initiation." So Bimal Prasad came back. Now, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, anyways, was extremely humble. And then, you know, he saw that Bimal Prasad, he was, you know, a established scholar, you know, he knew Sanskrit, he knew the Shastras, he was, you know, teaching in Sanskrit school, you know, he was, you know, world famous for being a scholar. And he was thinking, how can I initiate this person? And he did not have any disciples. He was, you know, not prominent as an initiating guru that time. So he sent him back. Bhakti Vinod told his son, no, you go back and take initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. So Bimal Prasad came back. So this time Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, I'm going to talk to my master Lord Chaitanya, and I don't decide. Whatever he tells me, I'll decide accordingly. So Bimal Prasad went back, and he came back next day. He said, so what did your Lord Chaitanya say? What did your master say? So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, I forgot to ask him. I don't have an answer yet. So, you know, Bimal Prasad went back to his father. And this time, Bhakti Vinod was like, if you cannot take initiation from Gaur Kishore Das, your life is a waste. You know, there's no point. Your life is a total waste. So this time, Bimal Prasad, you know, he got an audience with Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. You know, they were on they were on the bridge by the roadside. And he said that You worship Lord Krishna, he's a debauchee, and because of that, you are cheating me also. You are not giving me initiation, and my life is a waste, my life is useless. If you don't accept me as your disciple, I'm going to jump off the bridge and I'm going to give up my life. And at that time, yeah, at that time, seeing the sincerity, the pure, genuine desire to have to have him as his master, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji agreed, and he initiated Biban Prasad, and he gave him the name Parshibhanavi Devi Daitya Das. So this is the pastime of how the Lion Guru, the fearless preacher, Narsimha Guru, became the disciple of this very humble Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And when I read this again, I was able to draw a parallel between how Narottam Das Thakur took initiation from Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami was also refusing to, accept Narottam Das as his disciple. He said, I don't initiate. But, seeing the sincerity and purity of Narottam's desire, he agreed. I'm going to read a little bit more here, and then I'll share something that I heard in a lecture by my Guru Maharaj. Apart from his father's writings, he published many authorized shastras: Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and his favorite book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He predicted that foreigners would learn Bengali to relish the nectar left by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He introduced many innovations to expand preaching. All over India, he staged free theistic exhibits and dioramas depicting the pastimes of Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Employing the latest technology, he even had animated dolls. To commemorate the many holy places visited by Lord Chaitanya, he installed marble impression of Lord's lotus feet. Breaking tradition, he let his sannyasis wear tailored kurtas and overcoats, ride in cars and motorboats, and carry Mahaprabhu's message across the sea to Europe. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's revolutionary preaching ideas sprang from the Shastric principle of a Yukta Vairagya set forth by the Rasa Acharya Srila Rupa Goswami. Being an eternally liberated soul, Srila Saraswati Thakur knew how to perfectly engage Maya, or the illusory energy in the surface of Lord Krishna. And I'm going to pause from reading and share one more thing. He truly was revolutionary. When after accepting sannyas, he started initiating disciples, and he started initiating disciples into Gayatri Mantra, and he started giving Brahman initiation to people who were not born in the Brahman's family. So in that sense, he was actually going against the prevalent caste system and the supremacy of the Brahman, the Brahmanical, strata that time. And he traveled extensively, but it wasn't without struggle or opposition. The shopkeepers who were from the Brahmanical families, they would refuse to sell supplies to him or to his disciples. They would refuse to cooperate with him because they could see him clearly opposing their authority or their pseudo supremacy, as being like the higher caste in the society. But he was of the mood that bhakti or accepting initiation is not a prerogative based on caste, creed, gender, education, birth, family, it just sees your sincerity. And again, when I read this, I was able to draw a parallel between this, how he was preaching and initiating, and how Mahaprabhu was also that time spreading the Sankirtan mission. And Brahmins at that time were feeling threatened, because he was outrightly challenging their pseudo supremacy in the society. One time, somebody asked Srila Prabhupada to describe Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he said that, what can I say about my Guru Maharaj? He's a Vaikuntha man, And in 1922, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who was Abhecharan at that time, his friend asked him, that there is this sannyasi, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and I would like you to come with me to meet, to attend a program and to meet him. And Srila Prabhupada described that his father used to host many sannyasis and many sadhus. And while, many of them were bona fide and sincere, there were some who were bogus also. So he was very reluctant. He was telling his friend that, I don't need to go, what purpose, what is going to get served in me going and, attending this. So he was very hesitant. But his friend, convinced him and took him along to this place, Ulta Danga Junction, which was the headquarters of the Gaudiya Mutt that time. And, when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw Prabhupada, Abhecharan that time, he said that you are an educated man. You should use your skills and preach, the message of Bhagavad Dharma in English language in the Western world. And Prabhupada that time used to identify himself as a nationalist. He was influenced by Gandhi and the Gandhi philosophy. And Prabhupada, presented a counter argument that India is a British colony. We are not even independent. Who's gonna, we are being subjugated by the British. If I go in the Western world, if somebody goes in the Western world to preach this message, who's going to take an Indian seriously? And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur replied that, this independence, dependence in the material world, all these are temporary concepts. It's not relevant. The need of the hour is self-realization, and that is the only ultimate truth. So Srila Prabhupada very fondly recalls the first meeting with his spiritual master, and he says that I was defeated by my spiritual master, when I presented that argument. I don't know how much, I'm just going to quickly check the time. It's 8:35. I'm going to just read a little bit more and then, share one more pastime that I heard in a lecture by my Guru Maharaj. Following Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's footsteps, he preached Devi Varnashrama to harmonize society and provide spiritual fulfillment for all. Advocating the teachings of Srila Rupa and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, he taught the science of devotional service and showed thousands how to attain pure love for Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Krishna. He actually established deity worship in all his mutts and all his temples. And I don't remember the count, but he established 64 centers, 108 temples. And somebody once approached him with the proposal to, build more temple or more centers. And he replied that my goal is to turn every heart into a temple, man mandire, my goal is to not just open mutts or centers, but my goal is to transform every heart into a temple for Radha and Krishna. So I'll share one pastime that I heard in a lecture by my Guru Maharaj. This was several years ago, so I beg forgiveness. I don't remember the details. I don't remember the facts. But there is a key message, and I remember that message. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had many disciples, and he was encouraging them to go into new areas and open temples and preaching centers. He asked a group of his disciples to go into a like a brand new place which did not have any preaching activity. And we are familiar with that, right? It happened very actively, very aggressively during Srila Prabhupada's time also. Like how Malti Mataji and Shyam Sundar Prabhu went to UK with no centers, nothing, and they started from scratch. So his disciples, in sincerity, in right earnest, they took the instructions and they went to this, brand new place with no devotee base, and they started preaching there. With many efforts and sincere work in the preaching area, they were able to make devotees, and they were able to open up a new center, a new temple. And they invited Srila Bhakti Siddhanta for the inauguration of this temple, and I believe deity installation ceremony also. Now we all know that whenever there is a festival or whenever there is a new project or a new assignment, anything, we do it to please our seniors and to please our guru, right? And ultimately, by pleasing our seniors and pleasing our guru, we are trying to please Krishna. That is our ultimate motive, right? Like, why else would somebody take so much effort? I mean, that's our intention, that's our desire, that we want our seniors, we want our guru to be pleased with this effort. So Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples, who had worked so hard in that space, in that area, they invited him, and they were very happy that so much of work, so many months or years was culminating into a new temple opening, deity installation, and their Guru Maharaj was going to come and attend that program and preside over. There was a small incident that happened. There was one brahmachari in that group who made a mistake. I don't know if it was an offense or a mistake, but the senior brahmachari in that group, he chastised this brahmachari very heavily, to the point of almost deriding him and insulting him. Now this young brahmachari who had made the mistake, he felt so guilty, he felt so ashamed, and he felt so little, it was like belittled. He felt so humiliated that he just left. He left the temple, he left the place, and he just went away. Now Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he came for the temple opening, he asked, where is this person? Now, I'll mention here that he had very sharp memory. He had like erratic memory. Even when he was about to, even in his last few days on the earth planet, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur could recall word by word every single passage that he had read in any book, even 50 years ago. That's how good his memory was. He was a lifelong celibate, and that just so he had a brilliant memory. So he came and he asked, where is this brahmachari? He saw a group of people, and the senior brahmachari who had chastised the younger one, he said, oh Guru Maharaj, he made this mistake, and he did this thing wrong, and I scolded him, and then he left. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur got very upset. He was very, very sad about this. And he said, it takes like so much of sweat and blood and effort to make a person a devotee, to bring a person to the feet of Krishna. And you chastised him and he left, and you did nothing to stop him. And I'm not interested in any deity installation ceremony. I'm not interested in any grand opening. I'm not interested in attending any function till you get back that brahmachari. Now go and find him. I'm talking about a time where there was no WhatsApp, no text, no GPS, no cell phone, no email, nothing. You know, if a person leaves without a trace, that's it. You know, he's not posting on Facebook, left, 8 a.m. this morning. So now this senior brahmachari was also in a fix, like how do we go about finding him? So he started talking to other brahmacharis in that group. And one of them mentioned that few days ago, my watch had broken and he repaired it. He fixed my watch. So he knows about watches. If he has left this place, he's going to go looking out for employment or a job to sustain himself. So we should check in, shops that repair watches or shops that sell watches. So this team left, they abandoned all their efforts at the temple of, the ceremony. Nobody had ceremony on their mind now. Everybody left and they started looking for this brahmachari. And they were going in every watch shop in that area. By Krishna's mercy, they reached one place and they were asking, do you have a new hire? Do you have a new employee? Is there anybody who recently started at your place? So in one shop, there was a person, he said, yes, a new boy came 2 days ago and he's in the back room in the shop fixing watches. So these brahmacharis, they went there inside the room and, lo and behold, this young brahmachari was sitting there and he was very ashamed. He was genuinely feeling guilty. But, sometimes when we are guilty, there is a way of chastisement, right? But he was insulted and humiliated so badly that he just could not stay in that place. When he saw the brahmacharis, he broke down and he was crying. And then these brahmacharis said that Guru Maharaj wants you back at the center. And they took him back. He saw Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He immediately fell at Bhaktisiddhanta's feet and he begged forgiveness. He apologized. Bhaktisiddhanta embraced him. And after that, the program was concluded. The ceremony was held. So I narrated this whole pastime to share two things: how important it was for Bhaktisiddhanta to make sure that nobody left the movement. We may take so much effort in preaching, in outreach, in going out, getting new people, but we have to make sure that we are treating our own people also nice. Opening the temple was his instruction, installing deities was his instruction, but all that became secondary till this person was found. Second, so that shows his love and compassion for his disciples and for his and for devotees who have taken up the path seriously. It shows his forgiveness also. Okay, he made a mistake, but give him another chance. And it shows another thing, that as a child, he had tried eating a mango that was not offered, and he took a vow that he honored throughout his life. So he was so strict with himself, but he was lenient with his disciple. And that again shows that, we can be strict with ourselves. We should be strict with ourselves, but we shouldn't go around making a show of that austerity. We shouldn't go around being strict with everybody else. And I remember in my earlier days, I think I was able to, take this process to heart only because, the group of devotees that were training me, they were very gentle. There was no expectation of, following heavy austerities or tapasya. Now we have understood, so we take it upon ourselves, But in the initial days, that was not the expectation, that, you can become a devotee of Krishna only if you do this. There was no checklist. So I shared this, I I don't forget this pastime. It was many years ago, and I was looking for transcripts by Radhanath Maharaj, but I could not find this. I could not find the transcript of this lecture to share other details. But I just feel that this is a very special pastime from Bhaktisiddhanta's life. So I think it's almost time. Just before he ended his earthly leela, I think about 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before he disappeared from this planet, he wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada, and he reiterated his message of preaching in the Western world in English language. And it was on his instruction that Srila Prabhupada came to the Western world. And I was in Delhi. I had visited east of Kailash temple a couple of times, but I joined the movement. I joined ISKCON, and I'm proud to say that I joined ISKCON in the US, in New York. And my journey here, my spiritual journey, started in the US. So if not for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's instruction, Srila Prabhupada would have not come here, and I wouldn't have, made an attempt to transform my life, from whatever I was doing in 2002 to become a practicing devotee. Not there yet. It's going to take a lot of work, but at least we have started. So I'm going to end here. If you have any questions or comments, it's 8:48. So I think we have about 11 minutes. I want to end at 8:59 because I know there's a program starting at 9 a.m.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you for such a wonderful lecture. So one thing I missed, Mataji, maybe I was helping Radhika. So why is it that Brahmachari left the pastime that you shared?
Why he left, Rajanandani?
Yeah, why you left?
He was, he had made a mistake, some offense, and Guru Maharaj did not share the details in that lecture. He had made a mistake, some offense, or, I don't even know if, mistake and offense are different. So he had made some mistake, and he was chastised very heavily by this senior brahmachari. And chastisement and insult are different. He was derided. Derided means, very belittled. Like, there is a factual feedback. You, like Amrit Keli, you were terrible at frying the pudis. You please don't fry pudis in future. And then saying, Amrit Keli, you are useless. You are hopeless, this, that. So, there is factual feedback, and, there is criticism. So I think this was criticism, and that criticism was so heavy that this brahmachari left.
No, but thank you for sharing that pastime. And from lot of qualities of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we see that Prabhupada also have that style of modern style of preaching.
Yes,
He was not stick to like the old-fashioned way of. He did what is right for time and circumstances.
actually, I think I'm going to need either Pyare Prabhu or Jiva Mataji to correct me. During the time of Bhaktisiddhanta, initiated devotees had to chant, I don't know if it's 32 or 64, but it was a very high number. And Prabhupada made it 16. And somebody asked him, should we chant 32 or 64? And Prabhupada said, no, we have too much work, we have too many services. So, his Guru Maharaj determined a number for initiation. But when he started giving initiations, he knew that this will not be practical. And the amount of work that was done in the initial 2-3 decades of ISKCON by the first generation of Prabhupada disciples, we cannot even imagine. Like, if you hear the stories of New Vrindavan, Barsana Maharaj breaking the rocks with his hand, and other devotees walking up through the forest with snakes roaming around. Yeah, it's like, yeah, like we are really having a very cushiony life in Krishna consciousness, I would say. So Prabhupada knew, he said this, no, we have too much work, we have too many services. So he made it 16. Vrajanandi, can you imagine doing 32?
I know, Mataji. No, Prabhupada was merciful on us. we
I
we
I I like that cushiony Krishna consciousness. That is so true. I mean,
Yeah,
even if you read Jamuna Devi's book, if you see their efforts in London, if you see Jamuna Devi was in India when Krishna Balaram Mandir was like a field and a hut and mud everywhere, and they got like dysentery, they got diarrhea, they got this, that, everything, and they suffered. The Yamuna Devi even stayed in one place in Delhi where there were like mice running around their bodies, like they were big rats pretty much, and things like that. I mean, can you imagine? These were Westerners who were used to a Western, relatively cushiony life, and they had to go to India. We cannot tolerate things like that in India, and we grew up in India and they tolerated so much in those early days. And New Vrindavan was another very, very, very harsh environment, their heat was like a drum with wood in it, that kind of facilities,
my Guru Maharaj says that everybody in New Vrindavan in winter used to take bath with iced water. When you opened the taps, nothing came out other than, like, yeah, I think ice came out. And he said there was one tap which potentially had a little hot water or a warm water or even water in it. And on top of that tap, there was a board that said Maya. So, and Vasudev Prabhu was here exactly a year ago at our place. He's the head pujari at Bhakti Center. And he was telling pastimes of his Guru Maharaj. Kadam Kanan Maharaj apparently was attacked by thugs and like some like ruffians in Vrindavan. I think he was shot also, something like that. I don't want to, make
Yeah,
up
I think
information.
he es- survived from the death or something with the gun suit.
Yeah, and see
Yeah.
again, Prabhupada was initiating Western devotees. He was giving Brahman Diksha, and Westerners were becoming Brahman initiated devotees. So it was so threatening for the pseudo caste Brahmins in India that they were against him too. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, they had lot of struggle. They did not have cooperation and support from everybody. They had to fight. Women are
Yeah.
initiated in our sampradaya. It's like an honor.
And Prabhupada was just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was very lenient with people who are new to the movement,
Yeah.
and where the Bhakti Lata Kripal was not strong, but he was very hard with those who were, stronger, because he wanted them to progress much more.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally like Bhakti Siddhanta's mood a lot. I like debates. I like I like. At one time I was I don't recall where this was, either his appearance or disappearance day lecture, and I heard that there was one person, he was getting defeated by Bhakti Siddhanta, and he got so mortified that he could not even check his cause of nature. And I was like, yes, very good.
Well, that belongs to our parampara. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was even greater debater. Nobody could defeat him, And if you, I think early on, Ramapada Swami used to, in his email, used to send, uh, you know, uh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, lectures that he wrote to the British people. He used to write, and it is amazing how he defends deity worship and things like that. Such great logic, you cannot beat any. Nobody could beat him. He
There
was
was a
even
there was a
better.
society, they used to have regular debates in Calcutta.
Hmm.
And they invited Srila Bhakti Siddhanta and they told him, you can come for the debate. This was a group of Mayavadis. They said, you can come for the debate, but you cannot quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. He agreed. He went. He defeated everybody. Then they said, okay, you can come for the next debate, but you cannot quote from Ramayana, Mahabharata, or any Purana. He went, he followed their condition, he still defeated. Then they said, you come, you cannot quote from any Veda. He went, he still defeated. Then they said, you cannot quote from anywhere, any Vedanta, nothing. He still defeated them. And then next time they called him and they said, don't come.
Well, as long as Krishna is in your heart, you can defeat anybody.
Mataji, one question. Was Srila Prabhupada chanting a 64 round every day?
Rasraj Prabhu, I don't know that.
I don't think so, because Srila Prabhupada was so busy preaching. I mean, he might have chanted any number of rounds when he had the time. He definitely tried to follow the 16 rounds too.
I heard that in Gaudiya Vaishnava, that is the prescribed round, the 64 round, right? So that's
Yes, I heard that too. Yeah, 64.
Yeah.
So I don't know if today in
I
Gaudiya.
got confused. I know there was some high number 32 or 64.
No, but yesterday one of the Matajis, Lakshmi Mataji, told about Mukunda Goswami, right? Prabhupada first started with 64, and then Mukunda Goswami Maharaj said, no, there's no way I can chant 64. Then he said 32, and then he said even that is too much, and then he said 16. So actually it's because of Mukunda Maharaj that the 16 was the prescribed round for all of us.
My husband is prompting from the kitchen. He's saying Satatam Kirtanantama, like Prabhupada was chanting all the time.
All the time.
He was in remembrance of Krishna 24/7. Don't put a
24/7.
number on his rounds.
Right.
I
I even heard one
I think I have to
pastime
agree with
one-
Anand Ranga.
Right.
I know, I keep telling him he should give class.
I even heard a pastime where, one Maharaj was, when Prabhupada was sleeping, he went close to him and Prabhupada was chanting. Even that time, he could hear Prabhupada was chanting.
Wow, that's a nice.
People,
That
so-
sounds
so-
right.
Yeah, and then Prabhupada opened his eyes when he came close to the. So he thought Prabhupada is sleeping, where Prabhupada is always chanting, right?
So Rasraj
He
Prabhu, you
always-
got your answer, right? Prabhupada was chanting all the time.
Yeah, I know that. Yes.
Rasraj Prabhu, it's 8:59. I don't know what time your next program starts, and I don't
Which
want
program,
to
Mataji?
see-
I'm not
What is
sure
what
which
is the
program
next
you're talking.
program?
It's
I
11
don't know. I
o'clock.
know we have like a channel now. We have like program 24/7.
No, we have a next at 11, I know, but anything else, I don't know.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to continue if there are more comments or discussion. I just don't want to be, stealing somebody's
Yeah,
time.
we have next at 11, and I have to go cook for my Guru Maharaj. So I'm
11 we
busy.
have, but we don't have anything now, Mataji. If you want, you can continue.
Okay, I
Sometime.
mean, I can conclude, but I don't know if anybody else has a comment or question. If not, then we'll just conclude here. But there's one last thing I can share. December 31st, 2002, I went to New York City. That was my first New Year's Eve program at 26 2nd Avenue. And the temple president that time, I don't recall his name. I had gone with my Albany crew. He said that Srila Prabhupada organized a very nice festival for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta's appearance day one time. This was in the US, and his disciples came, and there was a very nice celebration. And this Prabhuji was speaking. He said that I did not go because I was working that day. So, when he was not there, Srila Prabhupada asked, I don't remember what his name was, something with D. Oh, he didn't come. And devotees told him that Srila Prabhupada, he had to go to office. And Prabhupada became very sad, and he said that he could not take a good day off for my Guru Maharaj's appearance day. And when I heard that, I realized that if I ever came to a point in my life where I had to choose between Janmashtami and Vyas Puja celebration, I'll choose Vyas Puja. So whether I take a day off on Janmashtami or not, I take a day off on Vyas Puja.
I always
year.
did that, Amrita Kelly. Even if I didn't take Janmashtami, because Janmashtami is at midnight, right? It's after work anyway, but I always took the day after off.
Whether in college or whether in office, since 2002, I've always taken Vyas Puja day off. So I think we can conclude here if there are no other comments or questions. Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
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 Vanchakalpataruviksha kripa sindhu devacha titanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Thank you very much, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.